fatigue, shortness of breath, a strange tightness you can't explain. Most seniors assume it's just part of aging. But what if it's not? Every year, thousands of heart attacks don't arrive suddenly. They whisper their way in. Today, we'll reveal 5 warning signs your heart sends weeks before a cardiac event. If you or someone you love is over 60, you need to hear this because the heart doesn't always scream. It often whispers first. Heart attacks rarely happen without warning, but the signs don't always look like chest pain. They might feel like dizziness, odd fatigue, or a strange pressure. And too often, seniors ignore them until it's too late. In this video, we're going to translate the heart's quiet signals into something you can recognize and act on. Because when you listen early, you give your heart a second chance. 1. Sudden breathlessness without effort. You're not climbing stairs, you're not carrying groceries, you're just standing there, maybe walking across the room, and suddenly you feel like you've been running uphill, like the air got thinner, like your breath just slipped out of reach. Many seniors chalk this up to getting older, but I want to pause you right there, because this might be something else, something quieter and far more urgent. When your heart is strong, it sends oxygen-rich blood efficiently throughout the body. But when the heart starts to weaken, when arteries become narrowed with plaque or inflammation, it struggles to keep up. And when that happens, oxygen delivery drops, not just during exercise, but even during rest. Breathlessness without exertion is one of the most overlooked cardiac warning signs, especially in adults over 60, and it often shows up before any chest pain ever appears. In fact, a large-scale analysis from the Framingham Heart Study, NIH 2019, found that seniors who reported increased shortness of breath at rest were nearly twice as likely to experience a cardiac event within the following 6 weeks, even when other symptoms were mild or absent. Let me explain it another way. Imagine your heart is a quiet engine. When everything runs well, the fuel line, your arteries, delivers energy to every corner of your body. But when those lines clog or weaken, that engine has to work overtime to deliver less oxygen. And just like an old car climbing a hill, it starts to sputter, not loudly, but subtly. You may notice it at night. Lying down makes it worse. You might wake up needing to sit up just to catch your breath. That's not just sleep apnea or anxiety. It could be your heart failing to fill your lungs properly. This is what doctors call orthopnea, and it's strongly linked to early-stage heart failure. The lungs begin to fill with fluid, and breathing becomes strained, not because of the lungs themselves, but because the heart is gasping. Martha, a 67-year-old retired nurse I spoke with, told me she noticed it first while brushing her teeth. I wasn't doing anything, just leaning over the sink, and I felt dizzy and winded. She thought it was just her sinuses. It wasn't. Her cardiologist caught early signs of left ventricular dysfunction. Today she's walking daily and hasn't had a single ER scare since. So, here's something you can do starting today. Track your breath. Each morning and evening, take 10 deep breaths while seated. Notice, do you feel short of breath? Does it feel harder when lying down? If you're noticing changes, especially if they're new or worsening, it's time to get checked. Have you ever caught yourself out of breath when doing almost nothing and brushed it off? Let me know below. Sometimes that soft warning is your strongest second chance. 2. Bone-deep fatigue that doesn't go away. There's tired, and then there's this. The kind of exhaustion that sits in your bones, that doesn't lift after coffee, a nap, or even a full night's sleep. You wake up already drained. Simple things, getting dressed, making tea, walking to the mailbox, feel like you're moving through thick water. If this sounds familiar, don't brush it off as just aging. This kind of persistent fatigue, especially when there's no clear reason, can be one of the earliest signs your heart is struggling. It's not laziness, it's not mood, it's a warning. Here's the biology. When your heart can't pump efficiently, your muscles and brain don't get the oxygen they need. Instead of charging forward, your body enters what I call energy-saving mode, like a dimmer switch. Your system slows everything down to protect the essentials. It's quiet, it's subtle, and it's dangerous. The American Heart Association, 2020, reported that over 65% of seniors who later experienced heart attacks described unexplained fatigue in the weeks prior, but didn't recognize it as heart-related. They assumed it was age, poor sleep, or emotional stress. Most never brought it up with their doctor. That's the problem. The heart rarely yells first. It whispers. And this kind of fatigue is one of its softest, but clearest, calls for help. Let me tell you about Martha again. After noticing her breathlessness, she also began skipping her afternoon walks. Not out of choice, but because her legs felt hollow. She told me, "I kept thinking I must be coming down with something." But she never got sick. She just stayed tired for weeks. Her cardiologist later confirmed that her heart's output had dropped below optimal, what's called reduced ejection fraction. With care, she stabilized. But it could have been worse if she had waited. Here's your protocol. Over the next 7 days, take note of how often you feel drained even after resting, especially after light activity like showering, making breakfast, or walking around the house. If you wake up tired despite a full night's sleep, if you feel weaker in your arms or legs, or mentally foggy from low energy, track it with 3 colors: green, normal, tired; yellow, unusual but past; red, persistent, bone-deep fatigue. This simple log could be your most important health document this year. Have you ever said, "I'm just getting older," when your body felt off, only to find out later it was something more? Share your moment in the comments. You may help someone else recognize it in time. 3- chest pressure. That feels like indigestion. You don't feel pain. Not exactly. It's more like pressure, a fullness under the breastbone, maybe a burning sensation after lunch. You tell yourself it's indigestion. You take an antacid, it fades, then it returns. This is how the heart hides. Most people expect a heart attack to feel dramatic. Sharp chest pain, collapsing, clutching. But for many seniors, especially women, the warning signs are much quieter. That sensation in your chest, it might not be heartburn. It could be angina, a type of chest discomfort that signals the heart muscle isn't getting enough blood. Here's the biology. When arteries are narrowed, oxygen-rich blood can't reach parts of the heart during exertion or emotional stress. The result is a dull, squeezing, or tight feeling in the chest. It's not injury, yet, but it's a warning flare. Doctors describe it as transient ischemia, a temporary shortage of oxygen. According to the WISE study, NIH 2021, over 45% of older women with cardiovascular disease experience non-pain-based symptoms, such as pressure, warmth, or fullness in the chest. Many were misdiagnosed with anxiety or indigestion, and later returned with heart damage. Daniel, 72, brushed off the same feeling for weeks. It felt like heartburn, especially after a heavy meal, he said. He started eating smaller portions, took Tums, tried ginger tea. It kept coming back. It wasn't until he felt it while doing nothing, just tying his shoes, that he called his doctor. That call may have saved his life, because unlike true indigestion, angina doesn't start in the stomach. It begins in the heart and radiates outward. Sometimes it wraps around to the back. Other times, it drifts up into the jaw or down the left arm. But often it stays subtle, dull, dismissible. Here's a gentle check-in habit. After each meal this week, sit upright for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and notice your chest. Is there pressure, warmth, or fullness? Does it rise with emotional stress or effort? Does it fade with rest? If it feels predictable, always after stress, relieved by rest, it may be angina. That's not something to wait on. It's the body's way of saying, "I'm working harder than I should. Help me before I break." Have you ever mistaken a heart warning for simple heartburn or ignored it completely? Your story might help someone else see the difference. 4. Unexplained dizziness or lightheadedness. You're standing up from the couch, or maybe you're reaching down to tie your shoe, and suddenly the world tilts. Your vision blurs for a second. You feel off balance, like gravity just shifted. You pause, it passes, so you move on, but your heart may not be. Dizziness or lightheadedness, especially when it happens without a clear trigger, is a major under-recognized warning sign of cardiovascular strain, particularly in seniors. Here's what's happening inside. Your heart is responsible for sending blood and oxygen up to the brain every second. If it falters even slightly, your brain reacts fast. It's like a flicker in a light bulb when the voltage dips. Just enough to notice, just enough to ignore. This symptom is especially important if it happens when you change positions, from sitting to standing, or if it's accompanied by paleness, blurred vision, or a feeling of floating. According to a study by the Mayo Clinic, 2020, seniors who experienced orthostatic hypotension, a drop in blood pressure upon standing, were 40% more likely to suffer a cardiac event within 1 year. The body's circulatory reflex was failing, and the heart couldn't keep pace. But it's not just physical. For many, the emotional reaction is subtle too, a passing moment of disorientation that feels more annoying than alarming. Let me tell you about Rosa, 70. She used to love watering her garden early in the morning. One day, while reaching for the hose, she felt lightheaded. "It felt like someone turned down the volume in my head," she said. She sat down, drank water, and forgot about it. It happened again, then again. She eventually told her doctor, who found her resting heart rate had dropped below 50 beats per minute. Her heart wasn't recovering between beats. She began a gentle walking plan, added magnesium and electrolytes, and within weeks, her episodes lessened. So, what can you do? Here's a simple check-in. For the next 5 days, perform a sit-to-stand scan. 1. Sit calmly for 2 minutes. 2. Stand up slowly and note. Do you feel dizzy? Does the room tilt or fade? Do you feel a drop in energy or pulse? If it's mild and occasional, track it. If it's frequent or worsening, don't wait. Because sometimes the first place your heart fails is the head. Have you ever had a moment where the world spun for no reason and you kept going like nothing happened? Maybe it was just one moment. Or maybe it was the first whisper. 5. Strange arm or jaw. Sensations. You don't expect it. A strange ache in your jaw, a heaviness in your left arm, a tingling that comes and goes, without injury, without reason. You stretch, shake it off. Maybe it's your shoulder, maybe you slept wrong. But sometimes it's not the muscle, it's not the nerve, it's the heart. There's a phenomenon in cardiology called referred pain, when your heart is struggling but sends its distress signals elsewhere. Why? Because the same nerves that carry pain from the heart also serve nearby areas like the chest, jaw, shoulder, or arms. The body gets confused, the signal reroutes. Here's how it works biologically. Your heart doesn't have specific pain fibers like your skin or joints. So, when it's deprived of oxygen, say from a blocked artery, it sends broad distress through the autonomic nervous system. The brain tries to make sense of it, and often labels the pain in familiar places, your left arm, your lower jaw, even your back. This is why so many people describe weird sensations in those areas before a heart event. According to the NIH Cardiovascular Aging Report, 2022, over 30% of adults over 60 who had a confirmed heart attack later recalled feeling jaw, arm, or upper back discomfort in the weeks prior, but dismissed it. The signals were there. They just weren't loud. Let me tell you about Dennis, 68. He was an old-school kind of guy, tough, retired carpenter. He came in not because of chest pain, but because of persistent numbness in his left forearm. It wasn't even painful, he said. It was just weird. He'd gone to physical therapy, tried massage, changed his pillow. It was his EKG that told the truth. He had a 95% blockage in his left anterior descending artery. The day after his stent, the arm sensation vanished. Here's your take-home. Don't ignore asymmetrical or migrating sensations, especially if they're in the jaw, shoulder, or arm. On the left side, not tied to movement or posture, or feel dull, tingly, or oddly persistent. You don't need to panic, but you do need to listen. When pain shows up somewhere, it doesn't belong. It may be coming from somewhere that needs you most. Has your body ever sent you a strange signal you didn't understand until later? Sometimes hindsight isn't healing. It's a second chance missed. Sometimes the body speaks plainly. Other times it whispers. through breathlessness, through tiredness, through a strange sensation in your arm, or a fleeting dizzy spell that makes you pause, but not long enough. And when those whispers come from the heart, ignoring them doesn't make them go away. It just makes them harder to hear the next time. But here's the quiet truth no one tells you. Your body still wants to heal. It still believes in you. Every skipped beat, every soft ache, every sudden breath is a chance. Not just to catch a problem, but to change a life. Sometimes that life is your own. Sometimes it's someone you love. So, before you brush it off again, ask, is this my body waving a red flag in a quiet room? Because the earlier we listen, the longer we get to live. Not just in time, but in joy, in presence, in full-hearted days. If anything in this video made you pause, share it with a friend, a spouse, a sibling, someone who always says, I'm fine, even when they're not. And if you'd like more gentle tools to listen to your body and care for your heart naturally, we'd love to walk with you. Subscribe, stay close. You're not alone in this.